Ah,
Okay, so good morning to everyone. Today I will discuss the topic in your syllabus, that is database management system. Now, in this class, database management system, this is the syllabus of the database management system. And one thing I should clear to all of you that this database management system class will be taken by me and Shunil sir, both. So I will cover module 1, module 2 and module 3, and Shunil sir will cover module 4 and module 5. So there is 5 module present, and in module 1 it is the descriptions and the introductions of the database management system, the view how database management system, drawbacks of the file system and how database management system overcome the drawbacks. Then database system concepts and architecture, how database systems architecture, two-tier architecture, three-tier architecture, data model schemas, and what are the instances, data independence. This will be data independence, that is physical data independence, logical data independence. Then in the part of the SQL, it will be the DML, data manipulation language, then data modeling and ER diagram, that is the entity relationship model. This will all be covered, and the set of keys, what the set of keys are present in the database management system will be covered in the module 1. And in the relational database model language, the SQL commands in module 2, the SQL commands and the queries through which we can perform some operations will be in the module 2. And in module 3, the normalization process, we will discuss about the normalization process in it. And after that, in module 4, it will be the transaction processing concept. And in the module 4, there will be the concurrency control techniques. So today I will first start from the introductions of the DBMS. The introductions of the DBMS, I will start from introductions of the DBMS. Now, first, we will know what is DBMS and what are the data and the information. So first, we can say data is the raw facts and figures given to the computer as an input by the user. Data is the raw facts and figures which is given to the computer as input by the user. Now, if we explain it through an example, it will be clear to you that like you have write 75, only only you have written 75. Now this 75 should be a student roll number. This 75 can be a 75 rupees. This 75 can be the number of a student in any subject. But we didn't able to know that. We only written 75. But this 75 may be any student's subject number. This 75 may be the 75 rupees. This 75 may be the any student roll number. But we didn't able to know that. We only written 75. This is called the data. That means raw facts and figures. We didn't have the information about. We didn't have the information what it is. It is the raw facts and figures. That's why it is called data. And in case of information, if we write that roll number 75, that means it has the total concept. It is the processed output data. We know about that data. So that's why this is called information. So if we write only a number, we only write 75, then it doesn't mean anything. It can be anything. It can be a roll number, it can be a price, that 75 rupees. It can be a total any student marks, but we didn't able to know that. That's why we called it a data, because we see that 75 is a number, but we didn't know the information about this 75. So this is the raw facts and figures, and information is the processed output data. If we mention roll number 75, then we can understand it that it is the information of a total information of a student roll number. The student roll number is 75. So this is the processed output data. So clear what is data and the information? It is clear.
Yes, sir.
That what is data and what is information. Now we will know what is DBMS. DBMS is an integrated set of programs used to create and maintain a database. The main objective of the DBMS is to provide a convenient and effective method of defining, storing, retrieving, and manipulating the data content in the database. Now, in simple words, we can say DBMS is the collection of interrelated data. The data, whichever are present in the DBMS, are interrelatedly connected. And it is a set of programs. Mainly, it is a set of programs to access those interrelated data. So, DBMS, it is a collection of interrelated data. Data are collection of data are in the interrelated data. The data are interrelatedly connected, and it is a collection of that. And it is also a set of program. This is a program which can access those interrelatedly connected data. So it is called the DBMS. DBMS means database management system. Now, what is the database? Database is the collection of systematic related organized data. Means we mainly focus how to organize data, how to systematically organize data in the database. Means in database, we store data in an organized format. Now, mainly in database, you can see the data are stored in the table format. Mainly the data are stored in the table format. So this is mainly database focuses about for the collection of systematic related organized data, for organizing the data and storing the data in a table format. DBMS data, that's why it is called database management system. Managing the database is the main focus of the DBMS. So now, if there is a database, then there should be a person present who should organize and who should look over this database management system. This person is responsible to managing the total database. Each and every person, if in an office or a school, your all records are stored in a database format. That student ID, student roll number, student marks, all are stored in a database format. And a person who is responsible for managing that total record, a person in office, in school, everywhere, a person is responsible for total organizing the record or managing the record. This person is known as DBA, or we can say database administrator. Database administrator is responsible for managing the database. Now, what are the working of a database administrator? Now, the working of the database administrator is schema definition and modification. Now, you didn't know what is schema. Schema means the structure of the table. Means in the table where the data will be stored. Its structure, definition, and modification, it structures the structure of the table in which the data will be stored. Its definition and modification is done by the database administrator. If any software need to be installed, it can be done by the database administrator. Some security enforcement, some security rules for enforcing some security, and check that security is going correctly or not, means administration it. It is also responsible for a database administrator. Database administrator is also responsible for that. And means now, what are the security enforcement and administration? Security enforcement and administration means involves adding or removing user. Means user can be added or user can be removed. Then grant access, grant and revoking access of a control. Now user can access the database or the user cannot access the database. This permission is also given by the database administrator. Authentication of particular user by issuing the valid user ID and password. Now, if you take an example that in case of when you want to log in the Facebook, you write an user ID and a password. So after that, now your user ID and password, how a Facebook page or how it can be known to the system that this is you? Because that's why when you want to log in, you have to first sign up. When you will sign up, your total information will be recorded in the Facebook domain. In the Facebook domain, in the database of the Facebook, there is a database for the Facebook. In that database of the Facebook, your total information during sign up, what information you have given will be stored in there. So whenever in next time you will try to log in using the user ID and password, it will match that. If the information which is stored in its database of Facebook matches with your login, the thing which you are given during the time of login, then only you can enter the Facebook page. Otherwise, if you didn't write the thing which you have written during the sign up time, then the information mismatch, and that's why this time it is shown invalid user ID or password. Because at first you have to sign up, then during the sign up you given the total information. So this total information is loaded in the Facebook database. Facebook has also its own database. In that database it is stored. And during next time, when you are trying to log in using the same user ID and password, then that time, this user ID and password are matches to the date in user ID and password, which is stored in the Facebook database of the Facebook. So if it matches, then you can able to enter. Otherwise, it will be shown to the invalid user ID and password. So this is mainly that authenticate a particular user by issuing valid user ID and password, and some checking the security problems. For checking some, it is used for checking some security problems. Next, for data analysis, it is also responsible. Database administrator is also responsible for data analysis. And any physical organization's data and its modification. Any physical organization, each organization maintains a database, because each and every organization has its own database, and in this database it maintains the record. This organization's data and its modification can only be done by the database administrator. We as a user couldn't able to do this. The main database administrator can add or remove or can modify the data. We as a user couldn't able to do that. And it is also responsible for maintenance checking of the database. It is also responsible for the maintenance checking of a database. So these are the jobs are for database administrator. Clear? Till now the concept is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the job of a database administrator. Now, how a database can look like? You can see this is a database. Means here this is a record. A record is stored. That is employee ID, EMP ID means employee ID. ENAME means employee name. Then SAL means salary and hire date. This total information is stored in the database. Now in employee ID, here you can see some values are stored. In employee name, some values are stored. In salary, some values are stored. And in hire date, some values are stored. So this is looks like a database. In database, this type data are stored in the table format. Now you can see the data is stored in the table format. See, that's how in any database data are stored. Data are stored in the table format. Now, you can say that, okay, but what are the advantage of DBMS? That we can use it also in the file system. But in file system, some problem happens. For that reason, we always prefer file over file system, DBMS over file system. We always prefer database management system over file system. You can able to store it in the file also. But then what is the advantage of the DBMS? And what is the preference of the DBMS? Why should we use DBMS? We should use DBMS because there are some drawbacks of the file system are present and some advantage of the DBMS of over the file system is applicable. That's why we use DBMS. First, data redundancy and inconsistency. Now, what is data redundancy and what is data inconsistency? This is new to you. Now, what is data redundancy and what is data inconsistency? Data redundancy means it is a condition that occur when the same piece of data exists in the multiple places. Means it is such a condition. Data redundancy means it is such a condition where same piece of data exists in multiple places. Means like in the file system, if you see the drawbacks of the file system, there is no data. This value, this means this table, you can store it like in the desktop, and this same table is stored in the documents also. So same piece of data is stored multiple times. This can be done in the, this can be a problem in the file system. But in case of DBMS, when you want to, when you will able to enter some data, then if there is same value is stored or same table is stored, then it will do not perform that. It will be show error. That's why it is the drawback of the file system. In file system, no error will be shown. You can store multiple times. Same piece of data, you can store multiple times. But in case same piece of data again, then it will show that it is already stored. But in case of file system, no such constants or no such thing happens. So that's why this is the drawbacks of the file system. Data redundancy. So data redundancy means it is the condition occur when same piece of data is stored in the multiple places. And what is data inconsistency? Now, in desktop, you store this file. In this text file, you stored emp.text in desktop, and there you have written this total information, employee ID, name, sal, and hire date. Now, this value is stored in same date. In case of same data, it is stored in the documents also. But in these documents, the value of salary changed from 5,000. For it is 5,000 here written, but in the other places the value is 10,000, 20,000, yeah, 50,000. In case of 5,000, it is stored as the 50,000. But all datas are same. Only the salary, this value is changed. So this is the condition of data inconsistency. Data inconsistency means it is the condition occurred when same piece of data exists in different formats in the multiple tables. The data will be stored in the multiple formats. So this is a problem in the case of the file system. Same piece of data means the table are same. This table is same, and it is stored in the in desktop. It is stored in the desktop, and it is stored in the documents also. But in case of the data is stored in the documents, the salary value 5,000 is changed as a 50,000. Or we can say that different formats means we can say that this ename contains the alphabetical digits. In case there the value is stored as a numerical value. So this is the different format that is called, but all the values are same, but its format is changed or the value is changed. But this value is stored this value is stored like that, but in other places the same value is stored with a different format. So this is the data inconsistency. That's why this is the drawbacks of the file system: data redundancy and inconsistency. Next is integrity rules cannot be imposed on file system. Integrity rules. Integrity rules means you will know that integrity constants are the set of rules to maintain the quality of the information. For maintaining the quality of information cannot be imposed on the file system. Same as that, for security reasons, security rules can also not be imposed on the file system, but it can be done on the DBMS. Same as that, integrity rules, that quality of the information. Integrity rules means quality of the information. This can be imposed on the DBMS, but cannot be applicable for the file system. So these are the disadvantages of the file system. Same, it lacks the insulation between program and data, and also different unsupported file format for different ways. Now for different operating system, if we use different operating system, then different operating system requires different file format. So if we use Windows and if we use Mac, then two operating systems have different file format. So in case for Windows, the file format present in the Windows will be unsupported for the file format of Mac. So unsupported file format for different operating system. And for handling new queries, for each and every new query, it requires a new application program. For handling each and every queries, it requires new application program, which is very time consuming. These are all the drawbacks of the file system. That's why DBMS came into action. DBMS recover that or overcome these drawbacks of the file system. And that's why we use DBMS. Clear? If anyone
Yes,
has any
sir.
question, okay. If anyone has any question, you can ask. Okay. So this is the drawbacks of the file system. Now, one thing you should note that SQL, this is the query language used in the DBMS, query processing language. For any query, it is used for query processing language, SQL. We will discuss it later, but you should know that SQL stands for structured query language. And this is much more effective in, also you have seen that in data structure, binary search, it is more effective than the binary search, because in binary search, it requires order of login. But SQL complexity is order of 1. So if anything is the order of 1, it will be much more simple than the order of login. So SQL is, we can say SQL is much more effective than the binary search, because it take order of login time. Whereas in SQL complexity, it is of order of 1. Okay, so this is about the drawbacks of the file system. Now, integrity constants. I have mentioned that integrity rules cannot be imposed of the file system. Now, what are the integrity constraints? Integrity constraints means are the set of rules. Integrity constraints are the set of rules. And this rule is used to maintain the quality of information. This rule is basically used to maintain any quality of the information. Means our information which is coming, that information's quality should be maintained. Means integrity constraint ensure that the data insertion, updating, and other process have to perform in a such a way that data integrity is not affected. Means integrity constants is a set of rules. These rules ensure that whenever we want to insert a data in the database or update a data in the database or perform some other process, then that time our database or database integrity, means the quality of the database should not be affected. Means if I insert some data and our whole database changes, that type of problem didn't occur. It should be maintained. If we want to update some data, then for updating our database changes, it should be not occurred. That means if we, like example, if we take this example, that during insertion of a data, we are deletion of a data, means for this data we want to update ABC, and that time during that update, did this get deleted, the other values get deleted during the updation time of this value, that should not occur. It should be looked that during the data insertion, or during data updation or any other process, you have to be performed in such a way that data integrity is not affected. Means our database will not be affected. And integrity constraint is used to guard against some accidental damage to the database. So integrity constraint is mainly used to guard against the accidental damage to the database. Means if your records are stored in the college, or all the records are stored in the college, and during some new student gets admitted. Now some new student get admitted and his or her name should be included in the database. During performing of that operation, the other previous existing names get deleted. Then this is the accidental damage. This is the accidental damage. Then how we should recover that data? So for this reason, the integrity constraints are used. Integrity constraints mainly looks over the maintain the quality of the information, looks over how a quality of the information, how a database guard against accidental damage. It mainly looks over that. So integrity constraint is mainly used to guard against the accidental damage of the database. Okay, so these are some basics thing which are used in the database. So at first, what is data and what is information? Next, I tell that what is the main thing of a DVMS? Then what are the purpose or person who is responsible for maintaining the database? That's the database administrator, which is responsible to maintain the database. And what are his or her responsibility? Now, what are the drawbacks of the file system? What are the drawbacks of the file system? And then the integrity, the drawbacks of the file system, and after that, the integrity rules, the integrity constraints, and how we should perform this integrity constraints, and what integrity constraints is used in the database. Now we will explain one by one the database, the criteria which is used in the database. Now first, in our database management system, a table is called a relation. In this can be in terms, this you should know that the table in the database is called as a relation. And that's why sometimes you can get a relation word, but a relation word means a table. Okay, in database term we can say table is a, in database term we say table is a relation. So a table or a relation in a database is the collection of a rows and columns. Now you can see our database is the collection of table or a relation. You can see this example. This database is the collection of, or it is a collection, it is a table, or database is a table, and it is a collection of rows and columns. You can see there is rows, there is columns. So that's why it is written that a table or a relation in a database is a collection of rows and columns. And the rows are the heterogeneous types, because the types of row is different as well as size. Now you see rows are the heterogeneous type, means the rows are the different. Now these are the rows. Now you can see this in this row the data type is numeric. In this type, in this row, this data is of, now this data is, it is a row, it is a row of a table, this is a row of a table. So now in this row of a table, this data is of numeric type, this data is of alphabetical type, this data is also a numeric type, and this data is a data type, means date type. We can say it is a date type. So how this data in this row, the data are all different formats. The data are present in this row, all the data are present in this row have the own format. We can say it has own format. So that's why it is called heterogeneous. That's why it is called heterogeneous, because the rows are of heterogeneous types, because the data type of a row is different as well as size. Means the data present in a row, each and every data present in a row has its own data type. You can see through this example. So that's why we can call the rows are of heterogeneous types, because data type of a row is different as well as the size. Or a table is also called a relation in a database language. Now, through this, we can know that what is called the degree and what is called the cardinality of a relation. Means degree of a table or degree or cardinality of a table. Now, what is the degree of a table or a relation and what is the cardinality of a relation? Now, the degree of a relation or a table can be performed that if number of attributes present in a relation define the degree of a relation. The number of attributes present in a relation or a table defines the degree of a relation of a table. Means here number of attribute present, this is an attribute, this is also attribute, this is also attribute, and this is also a attribute. So here you can see employee ID, ename, sal, and hire date. These four attributes are present. Means in this emp.text, in this relation or a table, the number of attributes are 4. So the degree of the relation will be 4. And what is the cardinality of a relation? Cardinality of a relation means number of rows present in the table or a relation. Now,